Hello, everyone. My name is Madison Firstman, and today I'm going to be talking about middle adulthood. And the social problem that I'm focusing on is age discrimination in the workplace. So, according to the U.S. Equal Opportunity and Employment Commission, age discrimination is the unfair treatment of an applicant or an employee based off of his or her age. So, unfortunately, age discrimination tends to peak in middle adulthood. And I read this in a book titled Lifespan Development Lives in Context by Tara Cuther, published in 2007. So she says that in a person's lifetime, the risk of suffering from age discrimination has two peaks. Once as an employee approaches the age of 50, and again as they near retirement. Notably, both of these peaks generally occur during middle adulthood, which indicates that this problem is of special concern to this group of people. So age discrimination can manifest itself in many different ways. It can be as small and innocuous as an inappropriate joke during a lunch break that's poking fun at somebody's age, or it can be more severe, like an employer deciding not to hire an applicant because of that applicant's age. So, unfortunately, this can cause a number of problems for the individual who is being discriminated against. It can lead to severe emotional and financial harm. I mean, when people are continuously working in an environment where they are ridiculed over something that they can't control or something that shouldn't even be made fun of in the first place, it can wear on a person's psyche. And if a person, or in this case, an older worker, is continuously struggling to find work, this can create a substantial financial burden. So, in a research article published by the American Association of Retired Persons, it was reported that approximately 64% of workers alleged to have witnessed or experienced age discrimination in their workplace. And these people who reported this were between the ages of 45 and 74. So, of that group of people, a very shocking 92% reported that age discrimination is somewhat or very common. So there are numerous reasons why people commit discriminatory acts. So what I found is it tends to be because they hold prejudiced beliefs against older workers, or they associate older people with negative stereotypes. So for example, sometimes they regard older workers as senile, unproductive, or generally frail. In addition to that, employers sometimes think that older workers might be too inflexible or not easily adaptable, and therefore harder to train. So, mind you, in these sorts of cases, that might not even be true about the applicant. It's just this employer assuming that that might be the case based on the applicant's age. So I wasn't able to find much information about the social problem in a more local context. But here in the state of California, there is an act called the Fair Employment and Housing Act, abbreviated as FEHA. And what this piece of legislation does, it protects workers who are ages 40 or older from workplace discrimination on the basis of age. So I'd like to draw some parallels between this piece of legislation, the FEHA, and the ADA, which is the Age Discrimination in Employment Act. So the ADA is a federal piece of legislation, so it applies to all 50 states, whereas the FEHA is unique to the state of California. So the FEHA generally applies to private employers with 50 or more employees, as opposed to 20 under the ADA. So this means that more older workers are eligible to file complaints, as opposed to others who might not be under the ADA. So hopefully this provides more people with the opportunity to bring forth their concerns and receive some sort of, or seek some sort of recourse. So according to a report published by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, approximately 20% of the complaints they received in the year 2017 had to do with age discrimination. But it was unclear how many of these were resolved. This department is also in charge of enforcing the FEHA. So in the same report, which was published in 2018, I found that in the city of Fresno, 162 individuals filed complaints with the DFEH regarding an employment dispute. It was simply marked as employment. But it's unclear how many of these had to do with age discrimination, but certainly the city of Fresno isn't immune to suffering from this sort of social issue. So now I'd like to continue talking a little bit more about the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, which was passed in the year 1967. So what the ADA does is it protects applicants and employees who are ages 40 or older from workplace discrimination, same as the other act that I mentioned. However, unlike the other one, this one's only applicable to employers with 20 or more employees, but it also includes labor organizations, employment agencies, and it applies to local, state, and federal levels of government. So under the ADA, it is illegal to discriminate against workers in regards to most matters of employment like salary, job assignments, benefits, training, compensation, firing, and so forth. Also, thankfully, harassment is prohibited. The ADA is enforced by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is in charge of investigating whether or not claims have any sort of merit. So typically, workers who would like to file a complaint under the ADA have to do so between 180 days after the discriminatory act allegedly occurred. So there's a window of time that they need to make sure that they meet. Unfortunately, the ADA has been seemingly unsuccessful in curtailing age discrimination in the workplace. So for example, in the year 2019, there were 15,573 charges filed under the ADA, but only 13.5% of these had a favorable outcome for the charging party. A staggering 72.4% of those charges were found to have no reasonable cause due to insufficient evidence, while 14.1% of those cases were closed due to administrative reasons. So unfortunately, due to the nature of age discrimination, it can be incredibly difficult for older workers to provide sufficient or concrete evidence that age discrimination occurred. And because of this, sometimes they're discouraged from filing claims, or they're simply unable to receive any sort of compensation for their experience, which keeps people from coming forward, which is unfortunate. And it allows the problem to continue to exist. So unlike the United States, Germany, I thought, had a very interesting preventative measure that I think is a great way to combat age discrimination in the workplace. So in the year 2012, the German Anti-Discrimination Agency launched an educational campaign that was intended to eliminate stereotypes associated with older workers. So they partnered with schools, businesses, and senior centers to spread their message. In addition to that, they also appointed ambassadors. They wanted to find influential people like actors, scholars, and politicians who could help promote this positive message, which I think is great. I always think that when there's a social problem or any sort of problem, really, it's best to attack the root of the issue or prevent it from happening at all. And I think preventative measures like the one Germany implemented is probably the best way to do that. So another interesting initiative that I found that Germany also implemented was a program called the Perspective 50 Plus, which was in existence between the years 2005 and 2015. And it was specifically targeted at low-skilled workers ages 50 or older. So the goal of the program was to incentivize businesses to hire older workers by providing government subsidies to supplement wages. So according to a 2017 article published by the Institute of Employment Research, the program had very high participation rates. Approximately 1/3 of all older unemployed workers participated in this program every year. So I wasn't able to find why Germany discontinued the program. It might have been due to the costs of running it, but it seems like, well, the data is self-explanatory. It appears that during the time that this program was in existence, it was successful in promoting the employment of older workers, therefore mitigating the effects of age discrimination in the workplace. So hopefully at some point the United States will implement similar measures to stop the issue from happening at all. But we'll see. Anyway, thank you for tuning in and have a good night.